Hello guys, as Russia continues to threaten the world and Ukraine in particular, Ukraine continues to destroy Russian oil refineries, oil depots and other military targets like a military airfield in temporarily occupied Mariupol. Yesterday, the spokesperson of Russian Ministry of Foreign Attacks, Maria Zakharova, threatened that Ukrainian dams in Kyiv and Kharkiv may be destroyed because of Ukraine. We all know this is a typical tactics that unfortunately Russian criminal regime has applied not once. First they announce about a potential crime and then unfortunately they commit it. The similar situation happened when they decided to blow up Kakhovka Dam, and also a couple of months before they have warned that Ukrainian hospitals may become a target of potential attacks, and now we have witnessed an extremely awful crime against humanity in Okhmatdit Children's Cancer Hospital. So unfortunately, this is another threat. And do I think Russia is capable of committing such a crime, which is a true ecocide and can turn into a tragedy for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in Ukraine? Yes, I do. Because the only thing to stop all of this is to defeat Russia, not to negotiate, not to pause, but to defeat Russia and to invite all of these people, Lavrov, Zakharova, and of course Putin, to The Hague and never let them out. So let me tell you more in this video about the successful military operation of Ukrainian drones in Rostov, in temporarily occupied Mariupol, what these threats of Maria Zakharova mean for Ukraine and the course of this war, and also to thank you for the support with weapons and air defense that was decided during the NATO forum. My name is Anna and I vlog daily from Ukraine since the start of the brutal Russian invasion. So if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe and help us fight against Russian propaganda and fake news. And my longtime friends, check your subscription status and hit notification button. Despite all the horror and cruelty that Russia demonstrates during its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, we demonstrate a humane face and we continue neutralizing and targeting only legitimate military objects. For example, a couple of days ago, we have destroyed a military airfield that Russians developed close to the extremely tragic place in the modern history of Ukraine, the city of Mariupol. Evil planes that stayed there potentially were destroyed, but for me it is really difficult to speak about Mariupol. For me it is an eternal synonym of a tragedy. I know many people discuss that after Ukrainian victory this may be a new vibrant city, but I don't feel like that. Understanding how many thousands of Ukrainian people died here, how awful that siege was and still is, and also Russian brutally sell bombed houses. The real estate market is working in Mariupol, and there are lots of ugly advertisements when they actually sell houses that are partially destroyed with the remains of people's lives, their private things, saying it's cheaper to buy this kind of flats because they will be reconstructed and you will get a lot of things that are already in that flats. For me, this is a top level of looting, and at the same time understanding that in the majority of cases the hosts of these flats were killed by Russia. Please understand when we call them orcs, this is not dehumanization, because they actually dehumanize themselves on a daily basis. Another successful attack was of Ukrainian drones tonight in Rostov region. Rostov is already a war zone in Russia because people and his population invited it there. We have targeted a very big oil depot, and perhaps more and more Russian soldiers will drive on scooters and motorbikes. You know, this is real. They are actually driving these vehicles, not armored cars, not tanks, but scooters and motorbikes. And there are jokes in Ukraine that maybe sometime soon they will start driving skates and skateboards. We'll see, but maybe one of the reasons not only that they have run out of the vehicles, but also they have run out of fuel. So this is really good. We have targeted the depot at 4 a.m. when people were sleeping, contrary to the Russian attack on Okhmatdit in the afternoon. Remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel to demonstrate your solidarity and help us spread more information about Ukraine. This is very important in this time when Russia uses lots of informational attacks, and one of them, psychological informational attacks, is actually the news that were aired by the spokesperson of Russian Ministry of Foreign Attacks. I have invented this name and I think it describes it much better than Foreign Affairs. So this is the second to Lavrov person, Maria Zakharova, another war criminal, and she stated that they have information that Ukraine will try to destroy Kyiv and Kaniv dams and hydroelectric stations. Of course, there is no reason on this planet ever that Ukraine could have done something like that to its own infrastructure, its own nature, and its own people. And particularly, even Maria Zakharova could not explain why would Ukrainians do that. But this is a signal. Signal number one, they are trying to frighten Ukrainian people, to make us want the ceasefire, to make us press President Zelensky for negotiations. This will not happen. And also, to some extent, perhaps they are developing this kind of operations. And, you know, unfortunately, Prime Minister Orban, when traveling to Putin and returning back, he claimed that the next months of Russian war in Ukraine will be more cruel than this months before. Perhaps he has got some information and maybe about the attacks that are planned on these dams. I hope that Ukrainian military, Ukrainian intelligence have a plan, because what typically Russia airs happens in a couple of months. But just imagine in what an awful world we live when we observe online such threats and we continue accepting Russia as an actor, as a party that can be included in negotiations, for example. I think it's weakness, it's absurd, and it shouldn't be like that. Also, of course, I want to thank all of you good people that you influence your politicians. Unfortunately, the world lacks leaders right now. I was not a fan of President Zelensky before, but now I feel that he is indeed a leader. And if you look around, there are not so many leaders, but you actually rule people. So thank you so much, because with your addresses, with your emails, with your phone calls, with your positions expressed like on your t-shirts, in your conversations, you make them understand that you support Ukraine in its fight against authoritarian regimes that have already united. So it's not just about Ukraine, it's not a local conflict between a former empire and colony. No, no, no. These are authoritarian regimes uniting against the democratic countries that they see as weak. And I don't want them to be right. NATO Forum has decided to supply Ukraine with more Patriot systems, air defense systems. Honestly, I'm sure this will not be enough, taking into account the level of Russian brutality, but still this is very good and definitely will save hundreds of human lives. So please think about that, not in terms of the sums of money. And in the majority of cases, all of these systems are outdated and the ones that you don't want to your countries already. And Ukraine accepts them with gratitude, and Ukraine is actually the only country that uses them and really needs them. And I think it is definitely better to invest in Ukraine and stop this war here, even though our infrastructure is destroyed, our lives are destroyed to a great extent, and our country will never be the same as it was. But still, let's not let this war go further, because Russia definitely has these plans, China has these plans, and other authoritarian regimes that observe. It seems like Ukraine will get 6 F-16s really soon, 20 F-16s till the end of the year, and in general, analytics say that at least 100 a year would be enough to fight with a power like Russia. But I'm sure we will be able to surprise you with these results, with even 26 of them. But honestly, we do fight with one hand tied, and I actually think this is the right hand that is tied behind our back. Please persuade people to let Ukraine strike back. Strike back is very important, and that's the only way to prevent further awful things like the destruction of a dam or another children's hospital. I'm sure you don't want that, and I'm sure you understand it's extremely important to defeat Russia, not to pause this war and let them unite and regroup better. only like sure peace only after victory. That's extremely important. Thank you so much for your support. Remember to join me on Instagram, X, Threads, and Discord. Check our merch shop. It has lots of good t-shirts, sweatshirts, and caps with beautiful images that also work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need that a lot. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, and helping me film and write more. I'm very grateful, but most importantly, I'm grateful that you are with Ukraine in this fight. Slava Ukraini!